Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have a different kind of video for you. Today we're looking at a video that today we're gonna make a video discussing what was dropped about 2 days ago on the CXC Facebook page or on their website, where we have a little video about 5 minutes explaining what CXC plans to do as it relates to the grading of the 2020 modified examinations. And the description here, Dr. Wayne Wesley, Registrar and CEO of CXC, has a special message about grading and the modified examinations for 2020. Alright, so we're going to look at the video and then we're going to look at some of the comments and we're going to discuss what we think is going on here. Alright, so let's look at the video.
Good day, especially to our candidates, parents, guardians, teachers, universities, and employers. I would like to use this opportunity to thank the Ministries of Education, local registrars, teachers, invigilators, and center staff for the successful administration of the regional examinations, especially during this time of COVID-19, and your commitment to the safety and well-being of all stakeholders. Your service to the region and the development of our young people is commendable. In March 2020, when COVID-19 became a reality for the Caribbean, it required organizations, including the Caribbean Examinations Council, to create an alternative strategy to facilitate the advancement of students to the next level in their professional development. In July, the threat of hurricane for a short period affected administration of examinations in the sub-region of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. I am happy, however, to report that we were still able to accommodate those candidates affected, thanks to the collaborative efforts of the Ministry of Education, local registrars, and the CXC. Where candidates in territories were seriously affected by COVID-19 to the extent that they were unable to sit their examinations, these candidates will be allowed to do their examinations at the next available sitting free of charge. As the regional examinations body, the Council maintains that grades awarded must be valid, equivalent, and fair. In rethinking the way forward, the Caribbean Examinations Council created a modified approach to the administration, marking, and grading of CSEC and CAPE examinations. A modified approach was also applied to CVQs. The modified approach included the administration of one common paper, the multiple choice paper or paper 1, the moderation of all school-based assessments, and the administration of the alternative to SBA, paper 3-2, for private candidates. Without paper 2 being administered, the Council had to give more careful attention to equivalence. Equivalence means that from year to year, candidates who earn the same grade demonstrate the same level of performance. Here are some points that will assist you in understanding the grading process. The determination of grades will be modeled to account for the performance according to the candidate's competence on each profile. There is no adjustment to weighting of papers since the modified approach being used excluded the paper 2. The trends in teacher predictions over the previous years will be used to determine if the grade awarded is fair to the candidates. The Council is confident that candidates' performance in 2020 can be compared to past performance trends. The basis of this confidence is that a candidate who is awarded a particular grade in 2020 will have similar characteristics and performance on the multiple choice and SBA papers as a candidate who was awarded that grade in previous years. Therefore, candidates, parents, guardians, universities, and employers can all be confident that the grades earned this year will be no different from the grades that were earned by those candidates who sat the examinations in previous years. Rest assured that the grades this year will be valid, equivalent, fair, and have equal status to the grades awarded in previous years. Thank you for listening. May God bless you all.
Yes, sir. So that's it from the video. All right, so let's try and see. All right, let's start off right here. So all of us know that 2020 messed up here. So exams were modified to accommodate the whole COVID thing. So we know that the paper 2 was dropped, and so only the paper 1 and the SBA would to acquire a final grade for the candidates. So the multiple choice and the SBAs. And so CXC is saying that all this video is trying to explain is how equal would the candidates of 2020 be seen compared to those in the past? Because people had that question out there. People were asking, well, if I'm in the workforce and I'm trying to find a job and I see a candidate registered from 2020 and I see the guy 1 and I see a candidate from 2019, 18 and they also got a 1, then I would pick the candidate from 2019 or 18 because they would have done a paper 2, a more comprehensive assessment would have been done on them. But CXC is saying no, you can pick the one from 2021 still because the exams would have been equivalent, fair, valid equivalent to those in the past. And so that's what they're trying to say here. So we know that it was modified to accommodate the global situation right now. So CXC is saying that based on certain pillars, exams from 2020 are fair, valid, and equivalent. So they're saying the first thing the grades are going to be based on would be, of course, your performance as a student. So based on your performance, that would be one factor that would go into determine your overall grade. And of course that makes sense. You can't do crappy on the exam and expect a decent grade. So the first one is the performance of the candidate on the exams, on the SPAs. Then we're looking at the weighting. There's no adjustment to the weighting. What they're saying is that in previous years, in some subjects, you would have a 20%. So for your overall grade, 20% would come from the SBA, 30 would come from the paper 1, and then 50 from the paper 2. That's how some exams would have been graded in the past. But they're saying here is that the weighting is not going to be changed. There's no adjustment to the weighting of the papers. So they're saying that the same, whatever grade you get today in 2020, the paper 1 would be 30%, the SBA for some subject would be 20%, and so questions would remain as to, well, where the 50% gone for the paper 2? What is going to step in for the paper 2? If they're saying there's no adjustment being made to the weighting, where is the 50% gone? And so that's an issue that people would be having and a question that people need clarification on. And another component of the overall grade would be called using trends in teacher prediction to assess the awarding grades fairly. So some of you might not know because you don't mark SBAs, but upon marking an SBA, a teacher is given this document. This one is a POB that shows, of course, the year, name of the center code, territory, the name of the teacher signature, etc. But what we're talking about here now is this part here that says estimated subject grade. So teachers would have to go and estimate what grade they think the student is going to get. So your teacher should know you because you should have the same teacher teaching at least from maybe 3rd, 4th to 5th. So they would know your competencies, they would know what you're capable of, so they would predict what grade you might be getting on the CXC, whether it would be due to the mock exam they would have given you in 4th form or whatever. So they predict they estimate what grade you can get. Some teachers estimate a 1. Some actually do estimate a 4 or 5 based on the competency of that student, whether they came in good with the SBA or not. So they would use this to estimate what grade you might get as a student. CXC now is saying that they're going to also use that, the trend, the past historical data, to see what grade each student should get. So they're saying is that they are going to look at what teachers have predicted in the past and see how accurate those predictions were, those trends were, and then use that to help to assign a final grade to the candidates of 2020. So those are the 3 things they have outlined here as to how they're going to use, what they're going to use to obtain the overall grade for 2020 candidates. So of course, you feel free to sound off in the comment section as to what your view is on all of this. As for me, I think some clarification needs to be done because some things are just not adding up. How can you have the same, you do not adjust the weighting, but yet you get the overall grade? All right, remember their point is that they're trying to get equivalency with previous years to say that the exam in 2020 would measure up to past exams. All right, so let's look at what some of the reactions are to this thing. And so we see we have about 212 reactions, comments, a couple shares. So we have some, concerned, angry faces here. We have some people love it, some people like it. So let's just see some of the more upvoted comments and let's read and see what they're saying here. All right, so let's go. Let's look at this one that has, let's say, 7. We have 4 likes, 4 loves. Okay, greater clarification is needed, CXC. As a teacher, using predictive grading does not necessarily reflective what a student is capable of. This approach needs to be reviewed. So this person is not in agreement with this approach. They're saying they need to review what they are looking at. Let's go down. We have one here with 10 likes. I am not understanding this. So if there is no adjustment to weighting of the papers, then where will the other marks be acquired? If it is from the teacher's predictive grades, then how does a private candidate that entered through a government center have their marks assessed? I have listened and it is still not clear. A lot of people support that sentiment. 10 upvotes. Then we have a next statement from the same person. Also, in some cases, subjects have SBAs or paper 3-2 weighted as 20% and the paper 1 as 30%. Therefore, the paper 2 would have been 50% of the marks. If the weighting is not changed, then how is CXC acquiring the marks for that 50% area? I seem to be missing something. If anyone can explain, I would be grateful. And then someone comment on that comment saying, teachers predicting grades I do not agree with because a student may perform exceeding the teacher's expectation. I have heard of teachers stating a student will fail an exam and that student gets a 2 on the exam, which is true. There are times I predicted that a student might fail and they get a strong 3. To my surprise and to my pleasure, they got a strong 3. I'm glad to hear that. All right, and next 7 comment here. Let's go. Don't fully understand. Does the teacher's prediction have any weighting? Cause this can be unfair to students whom the teachers dislike. How could this be fair? That's true. I mean, it's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to take your like or dislike for a student into your assessment of that student. It should be objective across the board. Then we have some humor here. Good. Since it's the same, so the person says, since the grade 1 in 2020 is the same as previous years, then get rid of paper 2 completely from 2021 onward. Fair point. You can't argue the person's point. They're saying if it's so fair, then why not scrap paper 2s altogether? Because if your new system is so fair, valid, and equivalent, then why do we need a paper 2 going forward? That's what this person is saying. And of course, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but a little humor is not bad. Then we have a next comment here, 9 upvotes. Since the decision to look at the grades in the previous years, what will happen to students who wrote exams this year with the intention of redeeming themselves? So the same people who wrote in the past, they wrote this year to get a higher grade for an undesirable grade obtained in previous years. Also, what makes you think that students haven't improve in their thinking and applying skills this year, putting in more effort than that of the previous year? How can the decision be based on past occurrences for changing future patterns of learning? Are you implying that students are not capable of having room for improvement? Hey, point here. I agree. So as you can see, these are questions CXC have to answer and bring to the fore for us to understand what's going on. Alright, so that's it for comment sections. Now I ask you a question though. Those of you who sat this exam this year, 2020, do you really care about all of this hoopla? Do you really matter to you? Or is it that the exam was easy to you, so you might have passed, gotten your grade 1s, and since CXC said it's equivalent, you're good with that. You're good to go. You ain't care, you don't mind, leave as is. It was unfortunate, COVID came around, but it cannot be helped. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about that? Do you just want them to leave it alone? You enjoy your exam, it was easy, and you're good to go? Or some of you who would have missed the paper too, I don't know, you might be in the minority, but those who missed the paper too, do you think that these are valid questions that are being asked and you want proper understanding and clarification on them? Alright, let me know, sound off in the comment section. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening.